Welcome to another episode of Tanstwocents podcast. Today's episode is titled Show Me the Money, Building Financial Resilience in GovCon. Today, we'll explore the unique financial challenges, government contracting, effective financing options, and strategies for long-term success in the industry. I'm your host, Tanwilson, and with us today is Teresa Moon, the Director for Business Development and Marketing at Parabilis. Teresa is a powerhouse in the GovCon industry, known for her innovative approach to networking and her ability to forge impactful long-term relationships. In addition to her role at Parabilis, Teresa hosts a podcast called Spilling the Tea in GovCon, where she discusses the nuances of our industry in refreshing candor. And with a background in English literature and a knack for storytelling, she combines a strategic thinking with exceptional communication skills to drive business growth and collaboration. I'm excited to dive into her journey, her insights on tackling financial challenges in GovCon, and her thoughts on building financial resilience for long-term relationships. Teresa, thanks for joining us here today, and please say hello to our intellectual listeners and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me on. I have been waiting on bated breath for this invitation, so I'm super excited to be here. I love what you're doing. I've always been a big fan of yours, but I think bringing it to the masses this way, this medium in particular, is super impactful. So being able to be a part of it today is incredible. I'm super proud of Parabilis and the team that I'm able to represent in forums like this. We provide lines of credit to government contractors, which is a huge need. We're filling a big gap in the marketplace. And so being able to hit on touch points that are super critical and important for the small to medium business market is very important. And I'm proud to be the one that gets to take it on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to sync up schedules, right? You travel so much. We travel, like we both are everywhere, and sometimes we're in the same time zone, same place. But I'm
Right.
so excited to be able to kind of, have you on my podcast here to kind of we thank you for the great exposure and the collaboration that we've experienced over the years.
Likewise.
Um,
Thank you.
but before we dive into our conversation here today about challenges in government contracting financing, what's the most important or unexpected lesson you've learned in your career in government contracting that completely caught you off guard? Not just so our intellectuals know, Teresa is not a financing person from training or whatever. So you kind of fell into this kind of like how we all do. So I know you have at least one really like, oh, I didn't know about this, or this really kind of caught me off guard story.
Absolutely. And thank you for opening it up to that. Like many people who are listening, I did have a lot of family members and friends who are entrepreneurs. So supporting small business leaders wasn't hard for me. I saw the struggles of not only family members that were starting a business that was representative of their passions, but watching them struggle day to day with not only doing what's best towards the legacy of why they started what they're doing, but leaning into how their efforts spread across foundationally of the way that a business is functioning. And what I found very quickly, what intimidated me about the financial industry itself was not necessary. And I think a lot of education goes a long way. And I think that provides a level of security and lack of vulnerability when you're advocating for yourself. And so to say that I know what you're going through is not the truth, but I understand because I came to it without that financial background, like you said. And so I had to do a lot of research about how it applied to the background that I did have, which was in business development and government contracting. And so while I understood the education piece on that side of it, always continuing the way that we do business with the federal government might stay the same in certain capacities, but the things that change quickly or the level of understanding for the way that the government expects business to be done, where I think some of the business biggest surprises that I saw in terms of businesses interacting in the federal marketplace. But more than anything else, what surprised me is you attribute a certain level of intellectual prowess to people who are business owners because it takes a lot to be
Yeah.
able to start a business and be successful. But what the leveling playing field for everyone is that need for cash. And so while in the beginning, I may not have been an expert of what that financial journey might be for each individual business based off of what their experience was and where they were in their life cycle. But I found that that vulnerability level was there no matter what. And so one time in particular, I was at an event for an organization, a consortium out of the Detroit Arsenal marketplace. And I literally had a conversation with a rocket scientist. And I said, tell me about what you do. And my eyes almost started rolling to the back of my head because I was lost within,
So
10
much.
seconds of the conversation. But she made me feel at ease because she said, I feel the same way about what you do. And even
Yeah.
though, I've got all of this academic and intellectual power behind my abilities, I don't understand how to advocate for myself on a financial perspective. And so knowing someone like you who can help me chart a path forward is empowering for me. And that set me at ease. And this was literally 10 minutes before I had to go up and do a keynote speaking engagement for this group of these very intellectual, powerful business leaders who she let me know that it was a level set, right? You know what you know about the financial side of things, and we know what we know about our proficiencies. And if you merge the two together, that's a powerful force. And it was something that, I'd already been in the business for a couple of years with Parabilis, but you always have that, you assign a lot of credibility to people who are very, very smart, right? And it doesn't take away from it, but as we all bring to the table something. And so if we can
Right.
see that and be open to whomever we're talking to, that they have something that they know more than you, that they can offer to your process, then it makes for a better pathway forward and being able to take what you needed to learn from that person and have it impact in a positive way, the way that you go from that point forward. And I think that was the biggest surprise. I never, I'd never had a problem with it before, but I never go someplace and don't meet some friends, right? When we travel like you and I do, we know how to work a room pretty well, but being able to find a commonality with people, no matter where they are in their walk of life or their stage of growth with their business, finding that commonality is super important. And I've always been able to tap into that no matter where I am, no matter whom I'm speaking to.
Exactly, and it requires like really good listening skills, which you are so attentive when you speak with people because you make them feel like they're the only person who you're talking to in that room. And you said a couple of things that we're going to be unpacking here throughout our episode, which is money, like the money. We had an episode on money mindset. And it's so important because like we don't grow up and we don't learn about like finances and money unless that's really what you go to school and you're like and you train to do. It's that business owners are good at what they do, technically speaking. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually a technical like experience or knowledge in
Yep.
in our industry. But that doesn't mean that they understand financially like how that, and it's a very it's very intimidating kind of topic. So I'm going to put it out there. This is not a topic I feel very comfortable talking about. So this is a really good conversation for me to have too. So let's just kind of dive into our first segment, which is like understanding some financial challenges in GovCon, because GovCon is a little different, but it's similar and same to like other industries. But in government contracting, it's not just about winning big bids and contracts. It's a very complex financial ecosystem where it's got some very unique challenges that can either make or break certain companies. And so what are some of
Mm-hmm.
the most common financial hurdles faced by government contractors? How do you think these challenges differ between small and large contractors? And I know you've got plenty of examples to provide where the situation where like cash flow issues could potentially jeopardize a project.
Absolutely. I think it comes from personal experience. I started my career in government contracting, working business development for a small contractor here in Orlando, where I'm from. And the first conversation with the business owner was very typical. Here are our NAICS codes. Go out and win as many contracts as you can that we qualify for. And given my vast network, I was very successful in that endeavor. I got a lot of people that were wanting to give me my first leg in and hand up in the industry. And because of that, they gave us a shot without knowing a lot about the business that I was representing. And when I went back to the business owner, the blood drained from her face. And I realized really quickly that there was a piece to the plan that hadn't been looked at yet. and found very quickly that that financial planning period needs to be pre-business development, because the level of awards that we had gotten didn't equate to her putting it as a priority number one in terms of execution. And we all know in government contracting that your past performance is key, right? And so you want to be able to perform at the very highest level with the best resources possible and the best people possible, and that requires capital. So I think the biggest misconception that I learned very quickly there was that your financial planning needs to be done pre-business development planning. Because if you don't have a plan in place of how you're going to capitalize the work that you get, then you find yourself in the midst of, are you going to provide mediocre results and then have that be what every contractor after that or every government agency sees in your performance history? Or are you going to really narrow down the scope of where is a great fit for me? And do I have a plan A, B, and C in place for where I'm going to get that capital? Because new businesses, and you're new well within the 5 year mark, right? You're still a burgeoning, small, growing business up until almost 10 years, especially in the government contracting market. Most businesses don't get substantial contract wins until years 3 to 5 because of their needing to dig their heels in and really get a place in the market that people know who they are and trust them and want to give them the work. And so I think that was the biggest influence in the way that I was able to bring that experience to Parabilis, because having that understanding of where are you in your financial journey first, and where are you going to access the capital that you need to perform on that contract, because your bank is not going to be wooed by you having won a contract award. That contract in hand does not equal capital access. What they want to see is what you've done before. And if this is all you have, they're not going to put their money behind you when they have no record of what you've been able to do in performance financially prior to that. So building a financial history along with your past performance history is difficult. You need to build that financial history first. And that counts in the commercial market, right? But the way that you can also, same thing, that commercial experience does count towards your past performance in terms of being able to show proof of having those proficiencies work at a great level wherever you've done them. But being able to show that financial capacity that you can not only do the work that's been awarded, but then grow, especially on task order based contracts,
Yeah.
being able to show that if I perform on this one, I want to level up and level up and level up. And you got to make sure that you have a financial partner that understands government contracting enough to be able to walk through that with you and do those cash flow projections. Because once you get in the hole, it's really hard to dig your way out of it. And with that, it's really hard to secure the people and the resources that you need to sustain going through each stage of growth. And so very important. I think that's the number one key. Have your financial plan in place prior to business development.
Really great way of I like how you tied in the financial history with the past performance history, because we tend to be very siloed in GovCon sometimes, right? The more successful
Mhm.
companies have learned how to kind of break those silos, be very transparent and collaborate across different, functional groups. And so BD's off doing their own thing, Capture does their own things, and poor proposal people have to kind of make it all happen in the end. But there is a financial piece that a lot of times, in GovCon, you win these contracts and then you get into this whole oh shit mode. It's like, oh
Mhm.
shit, I won, or oh shit, I've got all of this, like that's going to happen. And it's kind of almost like an afterthought. And so I love how you framed it, and that you need to kind of make that be a priority. Think about financing and all of these financial aspects that we're going to be unpacking here as part of your BD, like before your BD or even in tandem with your BD
Mhm.
strategy. I think is a really kind of fresh way to kind of look at that, which I personally hadn't thought about either. So,
Yeah. I think
so
it's symptomatic of the fact that most, to your point earlier, most business owners are functional operators. They come to their ownership in their business because they know they're really great at whatever their proficiencies or offerings are. But that doesn't mean they're going to be a great business owner or a great business leader in terms of foundationally running from A to Z, everything that goes into owning a business. You know, I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
You're a business owner. You were
And
really great at what you do. That's why you went out.
but I'm really bad at the money financing part, so this is why I have other people who help me with it.
That's
So
right.
this is a
And that's
really
key.
right? Know where your limitations are and know when to bring in other experts. So
Hmm.
again,
Right.
dropping nuggets here, left and right, or spilling tea, as you so say. Um,
That's right.